Hello, I'm George Veni, the Executive Director of the U.S. National Cave and Karst Research Institute, and also the President of the International Union of Speleology, which goes by the acronym of UIS. I first want to thank John and Maria for accepting this presentation into their session. It's not an obvious one for their session because it talks about the International Year of Caves and Karst, as the title says, what happened during the first 6 months and what's coming up. But it is about culture. It is about society. It is not so much about caving culture, but it's the fact that the International Year is designed to educate the world and the changes that will occur in society in general around the world through this great project. So let's get into this and talk about it. The International Year was organized by the UIS, the International Union, to educate folks, various audiences. First of all, the public. The public generally doesn't really understand what caves really are. They've got this Hollywood movie sort of version of what caves are, which I think we all recognize is not realistic. But very few have heard in the public, very few have heard of the word karst, and even fewer really understand what it means. This is incredibly important because karst covers a large portion of the world, and yet people have no idea what it is. We also need to reach out to policymakers. I've heard cavers for decades around the world, myself included, complain and say, why isn't someone doing something about, take your pick, a cave being destroyed, an aquifer being threatened by pollution, archaeological, biological sites of importance in caves and karst areas being at risk or being damaged. Well, if we don't do something, who will? And so policymakers need to be educated that these natural resources are important. They are in the best interest of society. And along with that goes land managers. I've had the pleasure of working with many land managers for parks and other areas around the country and around the world, but many of them don't understand about caves. They need to learn what's the logo here, the tagline for the International Year, to explore, understand, and protect. Because without exploration, you can't understand what a cave or karst area is. And without that understanding, you can't adequately protect it. So there's a lot of land managers out there who'd love to learn more. They're doing their best to protect these resources they've been charged with, and they need help. And so this is an opportunity to educate them. And educating the educators, whether it's from kindergarten up to university level. I'm not going to be so naive as to think that we're going to get caves into the everyday curriculum of classes around the world. But I think that what we can do is we can use them as examples. I mean, think about it. Every class has an example. Okay, I'm trying to teach you about something. Now imagine this situation, and they give you an example of something. Why can't that example be something cave related or karst related? To build those terms, to build understanding of these things into the vocabulary, into the common knowledge of people. And if we're reaching the educators, then of course, we're reaching students. Students of all ages, young to old, but especially the young ones are important, so critically important. They are our future. And so those are folks, young folks, we desperately need to reach. We also need to reach scientists. Over the years, I've worked with many great scientists, brilliant people, well-meaning people, but who didn't understand karst. And so their work in karst was inadequate or misguided through no fault of their own. And so just because someone has a PhD next to their name doesn't mean they know everything. Certainly they don't know everything about caves and karsts unless they are trained in that. And again, like educators, like many land managers, scientists are generally eager to learn more. They want to learn more. So those are some of the people we also need to reach. So essentially, we're trying to educate the world, and we're trying to educate them about the importance of caves and karst, but also the challenges that occur in caves and karst. Caves and karst aquifers provide some of the greatest, most abundant, productive water supplies in the world, and yet these aquifers are the most vulnerable type of aquifer to contamination. They're also the most easily to drain and dry up through overpumping. In this country, we've got over $300 million a year in damages, just road damages, I should point out, due to sinkhole collapse. We need to point these things out. We need to educate people so we can better manage and use these and live with these resources around us. So, how is the International Year organized? If you go to the website, and you can see right down here the URL, the address for the website, the first thing you'll see is this shot of a video that we made. And it's a brilliant 6.5-minute video where Uwe Kruger from Germany, great cave cinematographer, has put this together for us. And in those 6.5 minutes, he concisely, beautifully explains why caves and karsts are important, why they need protection, and why we're organizing the International Year. So as you, and I hope you will, do this, organize events, and even if it's just a one-on-one thing, trying to educate a family member, get them excited to understand about what you do in caves, this is a brilliant movie, a brilliant 6.5 minutes to engage them and to show them what these things are about. If people are interested, if you catch your attention a little bit more, keep them on the website. Direct them to these three main tabs: caves, karst hydrology, and surface phenomenon. Under each one, you'll find a drop-down menu with lots of other topics. We're not forgetting about biology or archaeology or paleontology or climates or any of those other topics. Those are all underneath those three main tabs. And what you'll find are a lot of photos and concise, clear definitions, descriptions of what these things are. To the best of my knowledge, I think this is probably, if the most comprehensive website at the moment on caves and karst and what they are and what they're about, with really good authoritative information. If you shift over to the next tab, to events, you'll find that there's two options under events. One is event announcements, which is what you're seeing here. And we encourage you, as you organize events, activities, whatever you want to call it, anything that educates, that reaches out to people, whether it's a small group or a large group, announce it. Right here at the top on these pages, you'll see right here the webmaster's address. Send the event announcement to to that person, and send it in this format. It's very easy to follow, very easy for someone interested to look at these events: date, location, event name, event description, only 3 or 4 lines or so, and for more information, a website, an email address, Facebook, whatever you want to put in there. Then if you have a graphic available, that's good. It brings more attention to what you're doing. And so it only takes about 5 minutes to post these things. And so we want this concise list of events so people can see what they are, scroll down the page, see what's interesting to them, and then join the board. Now, the other event item is event results. And we've had so many event results that we've subdivided it by month. And what we do is, once we hear from you that your event is over, again, send it to the webmaster here, Yasmina. She's in Slovenia, does a beautiful job with our website, is very responsive. We'll take the first 4 items and just repeat those. And all we ask is change, for more information, to event report. And in most cases, especially lately with the pandemic, it's a YouTube or some other video link to a lecture, to a webinar, to some other meeting or activity. It can be a link to media attention. If you had, let's say, some outdoor activity like we see down here, it can be a link to the media story that covered it. And we want to see media stories. We want to get this information out to the public. We don't need to be talking to ourselves. We're trying to reach the world, not the caving world, but literally the whole world. We're trying to reach everyone. So put that information out there. Maybe you only have a PowerPoint or a PDF or a Word file. You can post those as well. The main thing is we need the results. What happened? How many people attended? Just a short summary. We're not asking for hours and hours of work. If you want to do that, great, but a short summary of what happened to keep people informed and excited. Now, who's putting these things on? And those folks are our partners. NICRI, as I mentioned, is a partner. The NSS is a partner. If you want to be a partner, again, contact Yasmina. Here's her web address at the top of the page. And then she'll organize you into one of two groups, either international organizations or national organizations. We've got a dozen international organizations and a long list of national organizations that scrolls far off the page here. Now, the most impressive thing about these lists isn't so much the numbers, and we've got, of course, you can see a lot of cave organizations here listed, but it's the non-cave organizations that impress me. Because again, we're trying to reach the world. We're not just trying to talk to ourselves. We're not preaching to the choir. We want to reach these other organizations, and we've got some heavy hitters. Flora and Fauna International, International Association of Hydrogeologists, International Union of Geological Societies, and the IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature, among others here, both in the international and on the national list. On the national list, some heavy hitters that you would recognize would be the U.S. National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, the U.S. Forest Service, the Fish and Wildlife Service, among many others. And so this is incredibly valuable, incredibly significant. And so we want to encourage you to work with our partners, to support them, and to join, have your organization join as well. Even if you're not quite a national organization, as many partners as possible is a great thing to have. Now, how do you get involved? If you go to the download page, you'll see a tab that says disclosure. And it basically says, as long as you're supporting some level of cave and karst education and outreach, you can be a partner. You can go to the download page and download that video that I mentioned earlier. You can download the logo that I showed earlier. You can download a bunch of other things, such as planning guides. We have 2 planning guides that are instructional guides on how to organize events to give you ideas. You don't have to follow it literally, but just to give you some ideas of how to organize events for the international year. And there's 2 of them. One was written pre-COVID, and then one was written when the pandemic started, and it's really focused on organizing virtual events. We have a leaflet. It's a single sheet of paper, folded over once to create a 4-page leaflet, and it's beautifully illustrated, lots of great text there. And we encourage you, download it, print it off, distribute it at meetings, events that you organize and host. We also have 2 posters. This is what we call our technical poster, which has a bit more verbiage in there to explain caves and karst. And there's one that's more splashy, just about the international year. Print those out. You don't need permission, just print them out, use them, display them. And you'll find also, I recognize I'm speaking mostly to a US audience right now. You'll find everything there in English, like the posters here, but you'll also find all of these things translated into different languages. For example, this leaflet is in Portuguese, and this planning guide here is in Chinese, and we've got things in French and German and Spanish. So if you're listening from another country and we don't have something in your language, and you're willing to translate it, well, great. We're looking for volunteers to translate and put things into even more languages, but hopefully we'll have the language that you need. So just go there, download the logo, download the information, use it. You don't need permission. I'm giving it to you right now. So what's our current status for the International Year? Since this program is about the first 6 months of the International Year, I'm closing the count out on June 30th, when we had 203 partners from about 50 countries. Here, just a random selection from our partners page. We've got Spain, Morocco, Malaysia. Here over here, this is I'm sorry, this is Germany. Not Spain is over here. And one of the notable things here is this is a geopark. We don't have geoparks in the US. The closest thing to them are state parks. But geoparks are a bit more prestigious than state parks. They're in many other countries. And I think we've got like about 15 geoparks supporting us from different countries around the world. So that's great. It's really amazing that we're getting this diversity of support from organizations that are not traditional cave and karst organizations. So I mentioned events earlier, and so far, as of the end of June, we've completed 202 events. We have 78 events planned. So if you look on the announcement page as of June 30th, you'd see 78 events, but 39, half of those events are actually multiple events, where you'll see that they're going on all year or they're going on over several months. And this is an example here. Our friends in Italy have what they're calling their cave science pills. Obviously it's a translation thing, but you get the idea that there are these 20-minute lectures that they do twice a month on some topic of cave and karst science, and they're fabulous. Just great stuff that they're putting together. They don't need to be very long or involved, and a lot of people from around the world have been watching these things and enjoying them. So a lot of stuff is planned. And I should also mention that if you go to the event results page and look at these completed events, you will find what I believe is the largest compilation of cave and karst online lectures anywhere. So to increase your knowledge of caves and karst in general, certainly about other countries, what's happening around the world, go there. Look at these things, check them out. I mean, it's just fabulous to see how much combined knowledge and information is coming together there. We also have 4 government proclamations so far. The one I'm showing here is from Canada, the province of British Columbia. Made a proclamation recognizing the International Year. City of Austin, City of Carlsbad, New Mexico. They've also issued proclamations, as well as one U.S. state has done that. So it's outstanding, and more things just keep rolling in. More partners keep rolling in, more events keep rolling in, and we are keeping track of how many contacts are made. We realize some people may be contacted multiple times in different ways, but this is where the media comes in, because we haven't had 20 million people look at all of the cave science pills or other lectures, but the media outreach has been enormous. So from the statistics I've seen so far of media outreach, media contacts, we're easily over 20 million, and that's as of the end of June. In early July, jumping ahead to what I shouldn't be talking about, but in early July, I learned of a couple other events that made it to the press, and those reached about 11 million more people. So this is huge. I'm going to be using that word a lot because I'm just stunned at how big and how important this is in terms of the future of cave and karst science protection management. So what's coming up? The next big thing that's going to happen is going to be in September. In January, the International Year was supposed to open by invitation of UNESCO at UNESCO headquarters in Paris. the pandemic canceled that. But recently, UNESCO contacted the UIS again and said, we still want to have you back. It's too late to have an opening, but we can have a celebration. And it's scheduled now for September 14th in Paris. Because of COVID and security concerns that exist, and UNESCO is a high security facility, as you can imagine, participation is not going to be thrown wide open to the public, and it's going to be lower than what we had originally anticipated. We had rented a room initially for 350 people. It'll be substantially lower, maybe about 100 people. And there'll be relatively few cavers there. But those of us who are there, we're going to focus on education. And really, we need a lot of cavers there. What we need is to fill that room with ambassadors from UNESCO who can learn and get excited about caves in Karst, and then take that to their countries to a high level and begin teaching those people, teaching their governments that, hey, I just heard this thing and I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that our country had Karst. I didn't realize its importance. Caves have never had an international stage at this level before. This is, again, I'm overusing the word, but this is huge. This is just incredibly important for the future of caves and karst. So we're really excited about it. We're working out the details with them right now. We believe that we will be able to have a live streaming video of the celebration on the 14th. I can't promise that at this point. Again, this gets into UNESCO security stuff, and but hopefully we'll have something, that if it's not live, maybe we'll have it recorded. But we're working on that and other details to make this as influential an event as possible. So other things coming up. The International Year 2021 has been extended through 2022. Now, the reason is because of the International Congress of Speleology. The International Congress is organized by the UIS. It happens once every 4 years. And people ask me, well, why did you plan 2021 for the International Year? Because the Congress was planned for 2021. The Congress is supposed to be the major event of the International Year. But with the Congress getting postponed until 2022, the International Year is going to be extended through 2022. And because of the pandemic, it's a natural thing. Nobody that I've talked to feels that we're kind of cheating and pulling off some cute maneuver to extend it further inappropriately. Everyone understands why it's being extended. There's no argument, there's no disagreement about this. And so it's really been a great opportunity for us to reach even more people. So in some ways, we're looking at 2021 as the virtual year and 2022 as the in-person year. Hopefully, COVID will have subsided enough that we can have most events in person. But actually, we're now looking forward to 2022 more as the hybrid year with virtual and in-person activities. COVID has been a worldwide tragedy, and yet it's been a very good thing in terms of our international year because it forced us to go virtual. It forced us to use the virtual technology that we've had out there, but many of us simply haven't been using. Many of these events, these cave pills and other lectures that have been going on around the world, without COVID, chances are that they would have been an event in a small room with 10, 20, 30 people at the most in there, and they would have heard it, very nice, thank you, and they would have left, and most of those folks would have probably been cavers preaching to the choir. Now, because of COVID, and again, I'm not celebrating the pandemic. I take this tragedy quite seriously. But the silver lining is that because of COVID, we've forced ourselves to go virtual. And so these events that would have held 10 or 20 or 30 people have now been watched by hundreds and hundreds of people individually around the world, tallying up thousands and thousands of views around the world, and not just cavers, but educators, scientists, the general public, decision makers, all sorts of people. So while we want more in-person events next year, we still want to try to keep this as much as possible as a hybrid year, really, to encourage as many virtual events too. So the Congress will close officially the international year. Now the Congress ends at the end of July next year. Originally, we had some events planned in December of 2021 to close the Congress. I'm sorry, to close the international year, but because of the pandemic and things moving around, that's not practical. We're not able to do a closing event at the end of 2022. So because so many of us will be together at the Congress next year, we're going to use the Congress to officially close the year, but the year will go on. The international year will continue. It's just going to be a formality of closing it since we're together, but we're still going to be organizing all sorts of events through the end of 2022. And so for more information about the International Congress, I hope you'll attend. There's the website. So now, what else is coming up? At the end of the international year, or the 2 years of international year, we're going to start pulling together a compendium, essentially a summary document that describes all events, outcomes, partners, countries, and the number of people reached. So whether we're talking about little TikTok dance events in a cave, formal conferences, YouTube lectures, webinars, whether we're talking about books that have produced, proclamations that have come out, laws that have been passed or improved to protect caves and karst, all of those things we want to compile and summarize those in this document. And we want this document widely available because our goal is to demonstrate the global support for caves and karst. The photo here shows me holding a proclamation from the governor of New Mexico, celebrating, recognizing right here the year of caves and karst. We want more of these things. We want this document to be going forward beyond the international year that people can use to demonstrate the importance, the international support for caves and karst, to support additional research, to find funding for research, to develop better and more effective cave and karst protection laws, to encourage exploration. So if you go to your state or federal or local park or a landowner, they won't look at you as just some weirdo who likes to crawl underground. Okay, we all like to crawl underground, and we might be kind of strange at times, but there's something valid and important to be learned from this work. So we're hoping to make this much, much easier. And so I encourage you between now and the end of the international year, December 2022, to please continue to organize events, post them to the website. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. Small events can often be incredibly powerful to really reach certain people. And if you don't post them to the website, then we're not going to know about them. They won't go into the compendium. We'll have a little bit less of an impact. So organize these events and get them posted. Please join us. Now, to wrap up, beyond the international year, what happens? We want to continue the momentum. I don't see the international year as the end in December 2022. I don't see it as the end. I see it as the beginning of growth and expansion of knowledge and appreciation of caves and karst around the world. So maintain contacts with your partners, whether they be local or international. Maintain contact with them. Look at that list of partners on the International Year website. Some groups have already started connecting with each other because they weren't aware that there was this other group with similar interests or in similar areas. Connect with them, especially ones that are not involved normally with caves. Continue to show them how caves and karst affect them, affect their goals, affect their programs. So maintain those contacts, those partnerships, and build on them. Continue developing events and promotions, especially as COVID subsides. Take people out, do field trips, show them, as Calvin Alexander here is doing in Minnesota, show them a sinkhole, show them what it looks like, what it is, how it works, why it's important to groundwater, why it's important ecologically. Give them that information. Conduct events like sinkhole cleanups, not just as caving club, as grotto events. Conduct them where you invite the public, as we've done during the International Year. Get the public excited and educated. And events like that naturally attract the media who will publicize these things. It's a great way to continue educating the world, but also builds partnerships. Many of you have done some of these cleanups with communities, have experienced the fabulousness of recruiting great new cavers, but also developing contacts with landowners who want to give you access to their caves. So there's many, many benefits. So continue promoting caves and karst and continue developing events as the years go ahead. Now, also, don't forget to continue following up and working with decision makers and other people of influence. In the United States, we've had some literal and proverbial dark clouds hovering over our nation's capital recently. This is a topic, caves and karst, it's not political. This is a way of helping to clear those skies and brighten them up. Work with the legislators, work with the decision makers, be they on your city council, county commissioners, your state legislature, the federal level, with agencies that manage your water resources, either surface water or groundwater or both, that manage other natural resources. Work with them. You know, keep up. I don't want to say the pressure, but keep up the knowledge, because hopefully with the International Year, they'll be hearing from about caves and karst from various avenues, from various circles, and you will continue to reinforce and to build on that. So please continue to follow up with those folks. And don't forget about tomorrow's cavers and tomorrow's leaders. These young ladies here are at NICRI looking at an exhibit of some Pleistocene age bones pulled out of a cave in the Guadalupe Mountains. When I think about the benefits, the outcome of the International Year, I'm not really focused on 2023 or 2024. I'm thinking 20, 30 years down the line when these young ladies will grow up, and maybe they will be a future director of the National Cave and Karst Research Institute, a future president of the National Speleological Society or the International Union of Speleology. Maybe they won't go into caves at all and research or whatever, or become cavers, but they may be those decision makers looking back and saying, yeah, I remember I learned something about caves, and those places are important. You know, let's give these things more consideration. So I'm looking to these young ladies and other young people to grow up and really make the big changes in the many years and decades ahead. So to close, I want to go back to our theme. Please continue as cavers, as cave managers, as cave educators, as cave scientists, to explore, understand, and protect. Again, without exploration, we can't understand caves and karst, and without that understanding, we can't protect them. If you have any questions, my email address is right here. Go to the International Year website, download the planning guide. You'll find a lot of information there. If you're not finding what you're looking for, don't be shy about contacting me. I wouldn't put my address here if I wasn't sincere about having you use it. So thank you very much. And I look forward to having a great International Year and to see many of you hopefully at the NSS convention in person next year, as well as at the International Congress and other events. Take care. Bye-bye.